Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Archie Looper here with Leadership in a Minute. We were talking earlier about answering the question, what distinguishes exceptional leaders? And we mentioned the quality of emotional intelligence. I want to share with you the 4 characteristics of emotional intelligence in this particular segment. And then in future segments, I'm going to go through each of the 4 in much more detail. Now, the first 2 deal with you individually. The second 2 deal with you and other people. And an author's name, you may want to write down the name, Daniel Goleman, really considered the father of emotional intelligence, wrote the book in the mid-90s, later 90s about emotional intelligence, would be a good book for you to get a hold of. But let's talk about the 4 characteristics of emotional intelligence when it deals with being an exceptional leader. Number 1 is self-awareness. And, normally when I'm teaching on site, I might have 100 people in a room teaching on EQ, and I'll always ask for a show of hands, how many in the room feel like you are self-aware? Well, most every hand goes up. But when surveys are done, do you know how many people really are self-aware? It's only about 8 or 10%. And that's a problem because with that issue of self-awareness being an issue, that many times will lead to blind spots in your career that we talked a little bit about in an earlier episode. So self-awareness is incredibly important. Are you aware of your strengths? Are you aware of your weaknesses? Are you aware of your emotions? Are you aware of how you're getting along with other people within the organization? And that is a huge challenge at the beginning, to be self-aware. Stephen Covey, in one of his laws, I think it was law number 5, about seek to know yourself first before others, made that same point early in the 80s in saying you got to be aware. You have to understand yourself before you can, even begin to understand other people. So self-awareness is number 1. Number 2 is self-management. And so the question comes up, not only are you aware of your emotions, but the question I would ask you, how well do you manage your emotions? In fact, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had someone that just really made you mad? Right? We all have. Well, let me push back on you for just a moment. Are you telling me that you're going to live your life in a way that you're going to be triggered by other people? Because listen, this comment, someone made me mad, no one can make you do anything that you don't allow them to do. So in this area of emotional intelligence, many times it takes a decision. It takes a decision and a commitment to say, you know what, Archie, I get it. Today, I will no longer be triggered easily by other people. I'm going to stay in control. I'm going to stay composed. I'm going to be able to manage my emotions, not only your emotions, but self motivate yourself and keep you up when things are, going in a difficult direction in your career, personal life, or otherwise, how to stay self motivated. Number three is social competence. Now, next to social competence, if you're taking notes, which I hope you're taking notes, next to social competence, I want you to write the word one-on-one. Because in social competence, we're talking about your ability to build one-on-one relationships with other people. And another critically important characteristic and a word that deals with social competence is the E word, and it's empathy. Empathy is an incredibly important characteristic of leadership. Now, you know what sympathy is. Sympathy is when we feel bad for another person. Empathy is when we feel with another person. In other words, you can put yourself in their shoes, you can connect with them, you understand what they're going through. And even if you don't understand what they're going through, you ask them questions. Hey, tell me more about what you're going through so I can understand, make a connection with you. And then finally, number 4 is relationship management. Now, where social competence was one-on-one, building relationships, rapport with one other person, relationship management deals with team building. How well in a leadership role do you build, motivate, handle conflict, confrontation, and influence a group of people? Now, we're going to be back and we're going to talk about each of those characteristics in more detail when you come back at a later time. Hey, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, follow me in my journey, and look for an opportunity this week to make a difference in someone's life. I'll be back soon.